الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونستهديه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا إنه من يهدي الله فهو المهتد ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له له الملك وله الحمد يحيي ويميت وهو الحي الذي لا يموت بيده الخير وهو على كل شيء قدير وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أدى الأمانة وبلغ الرسالة ونصح للأمة وتركنا على المحجة البيضاء ليلها كنهارها لا يزيغ عنها إلا هالك وصلوات ربي عليه وعلى آله وصحبه ومن اتبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. اللهم اجعلنا منهم واجعلنا معهم يا أرحم الراحمين. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. O you who believe, be conscious of your Lord and worship Him like He deserves for you to be like He deserves for you to worship Him, and die not except upon the state of submission, the state of Islam. Dear brothers and sisters, with the coming of the first of Dhul Hijjah, we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made some time of the year more blessed than other times of the year, and some places more blessed than other places in the world, and some people more noble and more honorable than others that He has created. And so as the time is Dhul Hijjah, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made this from the Al-Ashhur al-Hurum, from the sacred month. And as the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam tells us, ما من أيام أحب إلى الله فيها العمل الصالح كالأيام العشر. وقيل ولا الجهاد في سبيل الله يا رسول الله. قال ولا الجهاد في سبيل الله إلا رجل خرج بماله ونفسه ثم لم يرجع بشيء من ذلك أو كما قال صلى الله عليه وسلم. And so the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam tells us about this time that is blessed, and it is a time in which the good deed is more beloved to Allah, more than any time during the year. And so the Sahaba questioned, and they asked, O Prophet of Allah, even more blessed than going out to fight in the path of Allah? And he says, even more blessed than going out to fight in the path of Allah, except for someone who went out with his soul and his wealth and came back with nothing. And as he continues, فَأَكْثِرُوا فِيهَا مِنَ التَّهْلِيلِ وَالتَّكْبِيرِ وَالتَّحْمِيدِ. So increase in it, in praising Allah, in tahleel, saying La ilaha illallah, and takbir, in magnifying the greatness of Allah, Allahu Akbar. So that it is a time to take advantage of every little deed. That this time, these days are more blessed than the days of Ramadan. In the same way that Ramadan had blessed nights, this time has blessed days. And so that is the time. And so with this time comes the place, and that is Al-Haram al-Makki, the sacred house. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made this place blessed, and a place that all nations will migrate to worship Him alone. And as we know, this is such a blessed time that the Prophet ﷺ finished his da'wah at this time. And the last Meccan verse that was revealed, اليوم أكملت لكم دينكم وأتممت عليكم نعمتي ورضيت لكم الإسلام دينا. This was the last verse that was sent in Mecca. And the Prophet ﷺ told the people, today your Lord said, I have fulfilled, I have completed for you your religion, and completed my blessings upon you, and written over you Islam as your religion. This was the last verse that was set down in this time. And the Jews would say, there's a verse that the Muslims have. If it was set down upon us, we would have taken a Eid, we would have taken a celebration. And this is why we conclude these 10 days with a celebration. That it is such an honor that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave to this ummah. And finally, but not least, is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala similarly made some more blessed, some people more honorable than others. And that is why we do all this rites of worship. These rituals of worship are all in the footsteps of one man and his family, Ibrahim alayhi salam, and his wife Hajar and Ismail. And subhanAllah, we see the beauty of Hajj, and we see the circulation of photos all over social media. And we see the millions flocking, and the millions worshiping Allah, and the millions fasting Dhul Hijjah, and the millions sacrificing. But little do we know what a lone mission it was for Ibrahim alayhi salam. When in the beginning of his journey, he was the only man on the face of the earth that worshipped Allah. That he would tell his wife Sarah, do you know that me and you are literally the only people who worship Allah? And his own father would reject him. It's a very cold story. That imagine your father not only rejects you, not only worships the very thing that you're against, but goes out to sell those idols. It's very different when you're passively endorsing something than when you're actively coming about and selling those idols. And as it is narrated in some of the books of earlier generations, is that Ibrahim alayhi salam, when he was young, he would take those idols and he would drag them in the streets at the age of 10, and he would say, who would buy what neither benefits or harms? It's a very rhetorical question to get people thinking. From a young age, he had this intellectual curiosity that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestowed upon him with the guidance, with divine guidance. And he would grow up and continue to be a lone man. And he would ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Rabbi habli min as-salihin, give me a righteous child to support me. Rabbi habli min as-salihin, grant me not just any child, but a righteous child. And still he was alone, and for times, long times he was alone. And yet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala called him, Inna Ibrahim kana ummah. Verily Ibrahim was a nation. By himself he was a nation. He was an ummah. Because he was the only man at the time who testified to the oneness of Allah, who testified to worshiping Allah alone. So much so that he deserved the honor of being a nation by himself. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Inna Ibrahim kana ummah. He was a nation by himself. It's such an honor that not any man gets this honor. And he would grow up and he would be tested. And we look at all these rituals of Hajj, and they're all glamorous and they're all glory and they're all beautiful. But behind them is a story of difficult challenges that Ibrahim alayhi salam endured, that Ismail alayhi salam endured, that the mother of Ismail, may Allah bless her, had to endure. And so he grows up, Ibrahim grows up, and he's blessed with Ismail alayhi salam. And when he is finally blessed with this child that he has been asking Allah to bless him with, Allah commands him to leave his family in the middle of the desert. And his wife asks, Oh Ibrahim, to who are you leaving us? She's scared. She's shocked. In the middle of the desert. No food, no drink, no safety. And as the verses say, وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ مِنَ الْخَوْفِ وَالْجُوعِ وَنَقْصٍ مِنَ الْأَمْوَالِ وَالْأَنفُسِ وَالثَّمَرَاتِ وَبَشِّرِ الصَّابِرِينَ. And we will surely try you, we will test you with something of shortness, of food, of life, of sustenance. So give glad tidings to those who are patient. الَّذِينَ إِذَا أَصَابَتْهُمْ مُصِيبَةٌ قالوا إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. Those who, when they are afflicted with pain, with challenges, with obstacles, they say, verily to Allah we belong and to Him we return. أولئك عليهم صلوات من ربهم ورحمة وأولئك هم المهتدون. Verily those is whom Allah sends His peace and His mercy amongst, and they are from the guided. And the very next verse explains
the meaning of all these verses. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues, إِنَّ الصَّفَا وَالْمَرْوَةَ مِنْ شَعَائِرِ اللَّهِ فَمَنْ حَجَّ الْبَيْتِ أَوْ اعْتَمَرَ فَلَا جُنَاحَ عَلَيْهِ أَنْ يَطَّوَّفَ بِهِمَا. Verily, the mountains of Safa and Marwa are from the sha'air of Allah, are from the rituals and the symbols of Allah. And Safa and Marwa, where do we know this from? From Hajj. May Allah be pleased with her. That when she had nothing, when she was tested with what Allah says, وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ مِنَ الْخَوْفِ وَالْجُوعِ وَنَقْصٍ مِنَ الْأَمْوَالِ. She's afraid. She had nothing to feed her child. She had no sustenance, no wealth. And so she asked her husband, to whom are you leaving us? And when he can't reply because he feels that he is being commanded, but he feels for his family that he has to walk away from. And that it is a test for him as much as it is a test for her. And he has to walk away. And then she finally gets it and she says, إِذَا لَيْ يُضَيِّعُ عَنَ اللَّهِ. If it is, Allah أَمَرَكَ بِهَذَا, did Allah command you with this? And when you realize that my griefs, my obstacles, my challenges may be a test for me from Allah. This is not just something that I am getting for no reason, but that Allah wants me to grow as a person through these obstacles, through these challenges. That the legacy of Hajj didn't come out without the challenge. That the legacy of Ibrahim, who we send peace and blessings upon in every salah, did not come with the challenges without the challenges that he went through. That it's not a one-night mission where you attain all the glory. That you bear the test and you pass with faith in Allah. Being able to say, إِذَا لَيْ يُضَيِّعُ عَنَ اللَّهِ isn't easy, dear brothers and sisters. To have faith in something that you do not see. You don't know that one of the biggest challenges is uncertainty. That you're afraid of what's going to happen tomorrow. You don't know where your next meal is going to come from. But all you say is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take care of it. And so she had this faith in Allah. And Ibrahim alayhi salam, as he walks away, he makes a dua to Allah. And if we get nothing out of this khutbah, but that we get this dua and the priorities that Ibrahim alayhi salam had in making his dua. He said, رَبَّنَا إِنِّي أَسْكَنْتُ مِنْ ذُرِّيَّتِي بِوَادٍ غَيْرَ ذِي زَرْعٍ عِنْدَ بَيْتِكَ الْمُحَرَّمِ. My Lord, I have left my offspring, my own blood. It doesn't get more beloved to someone's heart than that, dear brothers and sisters. And he said, I have left them in a valley that has no seeds to grow any vegetation. عِنْدَ بَيْتِكَ الْمُحَرَّمِ. And the first thing he said is that I have left them at your house. And this was his first priority, that his offspring grow near the mosque of Allah, near a blessed place. And he said, رَبَّنَا فَاجْعَلْ أَفْئِدَةً مِنَ النَّاسِ تَهْوِي إِلَيْهِمْ. And then the very next thing that he asked for is that a righteous community comes to them. That not just anyone lives with these people, but that a good community comes and helps them grow spiritually, socially, and personally. That they grow in a blessed place. And then the very last thing that we might have think as the first priority, وَارْزُقْهُمْ مِنَ الثَّمَرَاتِ. Then he said, oh Allah, give them from the sustenance that you are so generous with. Bless them, oh Allah. The very first thing that he asked for is that they be near the house of Allah. Is that they be with a righteous community. And lastly he asked, oh Allah, bless them from what you have. And lastly he said, لَعَلَّهُمْ يَشْكُرُونَ. That they may be grateful. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows them to thank him even when they have nothing. And Ibrahim alayhi salam, he has nothing for his kids. He has nothing for his wife. Barely anything that he could leave them with. And he still remembers, oh Allah, make them a grateful offspring. Make my offspring, make my dhurriyyah grateful to you. And later, over the years later, one of his offspring from the progeny of Ismail alayhi salam would be Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And this prophet, this great prophet of Allah, would be caught in the night praying and testifying to the greatness of Allah. And his wife would come, Aisha radiallahu anha, would come and say, "O Prophet of Allah, why do you need to pray this much? Has not your previous sins and your future sins been forgiven?" And he said, أَفَلَا أَكُونَ عَبْدًا شَكُورًا. Shall I not be a grateful servant? The very same prayer that his great-great-great-grandfather made dua for. That my offspring are grateful no matter what the circumstances are. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين ولا عدوان إلا على الظالمين والعاقبة للمتقين. Dear brothers and sisters, just as Hajj, may Allah be pleased with her, had a challenge, and her challenge was followed by a sharia of a sha'air of Allah. One of the sha'air of Allah is in the footsteps of Hajj. And so oftentimes we only focus on Ibrahim alayhi salam, but Hajj herself had a ritual that everyone doing Hajj and Umrah will be carrying out in her legacy. That an angel came down and she was running between Mount Safa and Marwa. And she had nothing, but she took the effort. She did sa'i. She took the effort to find something for her son who was crying out of hunger. And so today we do the same ritual in her footsteps. And then comes her son, who was also tested as he grew older. And his father comes to him and he says, "Ya bunayya inni ara fil manam." "Oh my son, I see in my dream that I am slaughtering you." Something so cold, something that you can never imagine that your father would come up to you and just say. And yet he accepts. And he says, "Oh my father, if this has been the command of our Lord, then do as you wish." And so, we all know the story, but the lesson from it is far more grateful that we attain this trust in Allah. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not want us to shed our blood. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not want to punish us. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not want us to go through pain. But the reason for all this is that we may come out to be better individuals, better persons. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "لا يفعل الله بعذابكم إن شكرتم وآمنتم." What does Allah want with punishing you? So long as you are grateful and you believe. That we often think that all this is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to punish us. And we teach our kids, fear Allah, fear Allah. We never taught them the love of Allah and how much Allah loves them. That they're equally important, but that we've made it a one-sided thing. And that God is all about punishment. And that God is all about anguish. And that God is all about torment. And that is anything but the truth. That God is the most merciful. And that His Prophet is the most merciful. And that we teach our kids these symbols of Allah. شعائر الله. ومن يعظم شعائر الله فإنها من تقوى القلوب. And he whoever honors, you give it due honor. That you honor these rights of Allah. These passages, these rites of passages. These rituals of Allah. That is from the piety of the heart. Slaughtering a sheep or a goat on after Eid. The point is that you attain piety. It is not for you to spill blood. It is not for you to offer that meat to Allah. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لَن يَنَالَ اللَّهُ لُحُومُهَا وَلَا دِمَاؤُهَا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not want its meat and its blood. That's not the goal. As some previous nations and previous religious civilizations would offer a sacrifice and put it right in front of their idol. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not want that meat from you. He does not want that blood from you. He wants you to attain piety in doing the action. It's not just the intention, but coupled with the action, that we carry them both. And that it's not just saying it, but it's also believing, saying, and making it evident, testifying to that belief through your action. That your action matters as well. That we have reduced religion all about the intention, and we say, oh brother, it's all about what's in my heart. Yes, it's all about what's in your heart. But if what's in your heart is sound, then your actions are going to show it. And so as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tested Ibrahim alayhi salam with his son, and he replaced it with a sheep to offer the sacrifice on that animal instead, and to grow closer to Allah through that animal. And the point of all that is لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. Just like fasting. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not want us to fast so we make our stomachs hungry. That we are tired throughout the day. That, as we often say, so we know how the fourth thing. That's a secondary reason, dear brothers and sisters. The primary reason is لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. That you may attain God consciousness. And so, dear brothers and sisters, in the same way that we honor Hajj alayhi salam, may Allah be pleased with him, we honor Ismail alayhi salam, and we offer the sacrifice as a ritual, as a sha'ira of Allah. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَنْ يُعَظِّمْ شَعَائِرَ اللَّهِ فَإِنَّهَا مِنْ تَقْوَى الْقُلُوبِ. Honoring these rituals, that is from the piety of the hearts. And when the Prophet ﷺ talked about taqwa, he said that taqwa huna, and he pointed with his finger to his heart, that you show this taqwa through your heart, this God consciousness, this strong faith in Allah, that regardless of your circumstances, regardless of the tragedy that you might have endured, that you get back up again and believe in Allah's will and believe in Allah's ability to make you follow through to what is more successful for you. And so, dear brothers and sisters, I am here today with Rahmah Relief Foundation for Relief and Development, and we are giving all of us the opportunity to follow in the footsteps of Ismail alayhi salam and his father, to give a qurbani for the sake of Allah and offer it to those who are hungry in Yemen, Gaza, Syria, everywhere, wherever you'd like to offer your udhiyah this year. And so, dear brothers and sisters, remember that you are not just feeding hungry people at this point. That you can feed hungry people throughout the year. That's not a problem. But in doing this, you are feeding hungry people as well as following in the footsteps of the greatest persons that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made prophets walk on this earth. And He made their legacy extend to this day. And as His Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam would make dua, وَاجْعَلْنِي لِسَانَ صِدْقٍ فِي الْآخَرِينَ. He would make dua to Allah, oh Allah, give me a righteous legacy amongst the people that come after me. And so will you answer the call of Prophet Ibrahim and his son Ismail to follow in their footsteps, to follow in their ritual, that this ritual of offering a sacrifice is not, again, so Allah can get its blood and its meat, that Allah is free and more rich and more independent than any of that, but that we may give the act for Him, and the product of that act is for those who need it. And the scholars say, for you to offer a sacrifice is much better than you to go give that money to the poor just as money. For you to give the meat of that sacrifice to the poor is much better for you than to just give that money. Because you are not just feeding the hungry, but you are also following in the ritual of the most blessed of creation. And so, dear brothers and sisters, it's hard to reject someone who is hungry. We may think twice before we give someone money for something, such as they have to buy a car or something that we are suspicious of. But when it's someone that is hungry, the heart finds it hard to reject them. Dear brothers and sisters, we are only offering them meat. And some of these people don't eat meat the entire year except on Eid, when righteous and generous people like you. Offer them that sacrifice. And so, dear brothers and sisters, remember the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, in which he is asked by a Sahabi, Ayyul Islam khayr? And he said to him, O Prophet of Allah, what is the best action in Islam? And he said that you, and تقرأ السلام وتطعم الطعام, that you give the salams to others, and that you feed the hungry, that you feed in general, not just the hungry. And the beauty of the sacrifice is not just meat for those who are hungry, but that you can even give it as a gift. But we know that we are more capable in this country, and that we eat meat on a daily basis. We have our source of protein almost every day. And there are people in this world that don't find their source of protein but once a year. And they are in Yemen and Gaza. And you guys all know the situation much better than I do. But that we must come to their aid. That we are being tested with our wealth, just like they are being tested with their pain and their challenge. But they're in a very passive process. All they can do is be patient and make dua. Dear brothers and sisters, our case is much different. We have to actually get up and do something. It's a very active process. While theirs is a very passive process. That we have to do the extra mile. A very beautiful story from the cousin of the Prophet ﷺ, Abdullah ibn Abbas, in which a young girl comes up to him and she gives him a flower. She gives him a flower as a gift because he was a famous scholar at the time and everyone knew who he was. And she gives him a flower as a gift. And he goes ahead and he gives her a whole sheep. And the people around him are shocked. How are you going to give her a sheep just because she gave you a flower? Are you kidding me? And he said something really beautiful. And he said, اعطتنا على قدرها فأعطيناها على قدرنا. She gave us from what she could, so we gave her from what we could. And so, dear brothers and sisters, don't look at it as $1, $2, or $3. Don't look at it as 100 or 2. Look at it as you giving from what you could, just for the sake of these people. That remember that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Prophet ﷺ, of the best sunnahs, we often think of a sunnah as just growing the beard and wearing the garments and praying a certain number of rak'ah. But a prophetic sunnah that still stands to this day is feeding the hungry. And this is what you have the opportunity to do. And don't think of it as a burden, because I know we are always burdened with fundraisers after fundraisers. But think of it as an opportunity for yourself. That all this, they're going to eat. But the product of it is going to be deeds on your scale to the day of judgment. اللهم اغفر للمسلمين والمسلمات الأحياء منهم والأموات اللهم اهدنا فيمن هديت اللهم اهدنا واهد بنا واجعلنا سببا لمن اهتدى اللهم آت قلوبنا تقواها وزكها أنت خير من زكاها اللهم اغفر لنا ولوالدينا ولكل من له حق علينا عباد الله إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون فاذكروا الله العظيم يذكركم واشكروه على نعمه يزدكم ولذكر الله أكبر والله يعلم ما تصنعون وأقيموا الصلاة